paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, yeah, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. I'm Corbin Hostler, joined as always by DJ Johnson, Jason Alt, and today we have a very special guest on the show. This is, I think, not your first appearance, right? It's just 2 or 3?
2. I think you had all 3 of us from the Idiot Trek cast on way back when we first started. So like 2019-ish.
All right, there you go. Well, welcome back to the show, Dana Roach of the EDA Trek cast and of EDA Trek and CommandersHerald.com.
EDA
Welcome in.
Trekcast.
EDA Rec.
There's one
Recast.
C. It's Recast.
Okay.
And then I don't think Dana, Joey, or Matt know that it's the EDH Recast.
Yeah, we've just been saying
But
it
it
wrong
is.
for 3 years now.
Yep. And that's why I fired Matt.
If you
Multiple
say it
times.
wrong for long enough, it becomes the right way to say it, right? That's just how the English language
That's
works.
language works. That's how any language works.
Well, irregardless, we should move on.
Yes, well, we're glad to have Dana on. Dana, how have you been? What's up in your corner of the magic world?
I am doing okay. The world around me has kind of opened up a little bit. I'm vaccinated. People I know are vaccinated, so we're actually able to go back to the shop and play EDH once a week or so. I had friends over on Saturday to play for the first time in like a year and a half or so. We finished off a bottle of scotch that we opened after Christmas last year that had been sitting in my closet since then that we didn't touch because of COVID. So that's feeling pretty good.
You didn't drink scotch because of COVID? I don't know about my drinking went up.
I wanted to save it
Was that
for my
bottle,
friends when we were all over here. So
It was very sentimental and sweet.
I don't put out the good scotch when friends are over. I have guest scotch.
the real low on the shelf stuff, real big bottle.
Yeah, it's like a handle.
Yeah.
I didn't know Seagrams made scotch.
I was trying to think of some cheap brand to name. There you go.
Stuff that's real,
Am I going to want to drink that stuff when I become a homeowner? Is that like a grill?
Wait till you have a dad. You won't.
I'm
be able
actually
to
not a
stop
scotch
yourself.
person at all. I don't drink scotch, but I do like to make jokes about it.
You have a kid and a grill, DJ. All bets are off.
Yep. You're gonna be wearing Crocs outside and shit. Or getting those white New Balance sneakers. You're like, I can't wait to get these all green when I cut the grass. Let's
just
do
lime
it.
green, wearing them around town. 4 trips to Menards a day to buy different parts for every project you're working on.
God, ever since I got that grill, I've been desperate to clip my cell phone to my belt. I don't know why. The belt on my jean shorts. I just really want to wear socks with stripes on them all the way up to my shins.
I don't think Darn Tough sells those.
A friend in my play group is 29 years old, and everything you just described is sort of mild compared to the level of this meme that he is. So shout out to you, Frank.
I'm 26.
You are. You've got a couple years of life left, and then it's all. You've seen those Geico commercials about becoming your parents?
I have not because I don't watch commercials because
Look
I'm
at
not
your
a boomer.
future. Well, I mean, I watch basketball and there's commercials, but this is your future in front of you. Look at them.
Well, Corbin can't hide it anymore. He's the gray over the last year is starting to come in pretty good there.
It is. I got a little bit of gray in my hair, but yeah, I've got this raccoon beard or whatever that goes on here. I kind of dig it, though.
The kind of Audric Master Tactician look you're sporting.
I like that. There you go. Well, we are going to talk about a lot this week. Dana is here to talk about one end of sort of the collection buying and selling experience. He has been moving a lot of expensive stuff recently. Meanwhile, DJ and Jason have both bought pretty substantial collections recently. So we kind of wanted to dive into that. And we're going to get to that.
Did you say boughten?
I don't think so.
Play the tape.
I'm pretty
It's
sure
impossible
there was
to
a button
verify.
there, yeah.
Simply impossible to verify.
Yeah, this would be great if JJ could drop in Corbin saying Botan, and then I hope one of your journalism professors is listening. It's like, one of my old students is on a podcast. Maybe I should give it a listen. And then he's like, no, Peaches.
This is
he's
the
an
one he
old-timey
plays to his
prospector.
class.
Yeah.
Agree to disagree. We're going to talk about some changes to MTG.
You disagree that your
stocks.
journalism professor is listening?
No, I just disagree about what was said, and we'll just agree to disagree.
It was said in.
There's no right answer. We'll just have to agree to disagree like civil adults and move on. And we've got a lot to talk about tonight, so it works out. We're going to get to MTG stocks changes. We're going to get to the collection buying. But first, it's everyone's favorite game in which I am great. And Dana is our guest, has come ready with some picks of his own. So you all get to see that right now. Dana, why don't you start us off with Breaking Bulk?
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
Okay, so I've got a card here. It's 3 super unsexy things. It is a uncommon. It's from a core set, and it's less than 3 years old. It's also green,
okay,
which I guess is pretty good. And it's going to be primarily an EDH card.
What set is it
A
from?
core 2020.
Is it something Garruk draw cards?
Is not.
Eric's Uprising is the name of the card.
Oh, that's
DJ
real
Sticky.
solid. It's
Is it a creature?
an enchantment.
A green enchantment, you say?
Edgewood armor.
Season of Growth.
Season of Growth is correct.
Yeah. I'm playing that in something very recently. It's a good card.
If it said draw a card whenever you cast an aura spell, it would be twice the price. And it functionally does that. It just doesn't say it. And at some point, people are going to figure out that that's basically what it does. We just got
I'm playing it in Lonus because, like, when you blink something or bounce it back to your hand in Lonus, you get to draw a card and then you get to replay it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's sitting at 80 cents right now. Volcanic Dragon, an uncommon from the same set, is at $1.40, and it has 15 printings over the years. I mean, this is one of those cards that just accidentally is going to turn into $1.60 at some point, and
Yeah.
so
That's why we do this game. Cool, Dana. You're already better at this than Corbin. Nice pick.
I got it. One guess. All I needed. I played limited of that set. Get out of here. I've got one that we'll see if you all get. I don't think it's incredibly difficult. But it's a Conflux Black Common.
On Flux.
A Cataract Parasite or whatever it's called.
That's rare.
Or it's Cataract something.
It is not. You might have been thinking of. No, I don't know what you're thinking of, but no, that's not it.
I can't even think of what the Conflux expansion symbol looks like.
Is it the card where you sacrifice the Grixis creatures to play a thing?
Nope.
Is it Guild Feeders?
No, Death Breeders
No.
Shards.
Your Death Breeder Shards.
Cards more than $1, by the way.
Goodness. I don't actually know. You may have stumped me.
Wow, I got everybody.
I'm thinking.
yeah, I got nothing.
It's not a black artifact, is it?
No, it's a creature.
And ooh.
It's a creature from a popular tribe.
Zombie.
It's gotta have Unearth.
Yeah, from
Oh yeah, if it has.
Honestly, both of those things are right. It is a zombie and it has Unearth.
So the Dregscape
Nope. That's from Shards.
Dregscape. It's the 2/1 with Unearth for 1 black.
Nope.
Oh man, who knows?
It makes people discard? All right, I've done it. The full-on stump here. Rotting Rats, y'all.
Rotting Rats.
yeah.
It's a 2-mana 1/1 when enters play.
Hasn't that been
player discards
reprinted?
card. It
It was in a
it
plane
has.
chase deck, yeah, but like,
It's in a plane chase deck in both versions.
You didn't
are-
mention that it got that would have been really useful to know.
Well, we threw the original set. I guess I could have mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know if that would have helped you, given that it was plane chase. But sure,
which narrows it down a lot.
Yeah.
maybe.
I'm not saying you had to mention it for Plane Chase.
yeah.
Like, I didn't get it, but I will say that Plane Chase cards are very identifiable.
That's true. Riding Rats has gone up in the past year, so it's maybe when you weren't picking just a few months ago, even. So I don't know if there's
no, because everything that made people discard came out like when Tiny Bones was released. All this stuff.
I mean, it's possible. This card actually was still 30 cents in February of 2021, and it's gone crazy since then. So it's a neat one. Now, Conflux is an interesting set in the first place because there are very few cards in that set worth picking.
Because it's garbage,
At common, it's Rotting Rats is now the most expensive common, followed by Lapse of Certainty, which is $1, and Scattershot Archer, which is 50 cents. But even in that uncommon,
Lapse of Certainty wasn't shards.
It's the white one.
Yeah, it's the white one. No, not shards.
Wasn't shards. Oh.
But yeah, I mean, at uncommon,
it's the 3-mana memory lapse.
That's right. There's Ancient Ziggurat, Path to Exile, Reliquary Tower, Counter Squall. It's dead after that. So yeah, it is not the best set, but Rotting Rats makes it a little bit better.
I have a black Dark Ascension common that I don't believe it has any reprints. I don't think so.
Dark Ascension.
What's a rarity? I'm sorry.
Common.
Is it a different colors on the back?
No.
Okay.
I
was thinking of that zombie, that like white card that would.
Is it only in Dark Ascension, or did it get reprinted a bunch of times?
I just checked, and there are no reprints.
So it's not Tragic Slip then.
Correct.
Is it a creature?
No.
It's a pretty dire set for cards too.
No kidding.
Yeah. It's a bad set. But like there were some okay creatures.
That's not like. No, that's got to be a difference.
And it's never been reprinted. Is it the give a creature undying?
It is. It is give a creature undying until end of turn. Undying Evil, 1-mana instant. They've done this effect a lot in the recent years. There's a lot of like 1-mana instant, give it some effect of when it dies, come back with a counter, or come back stronger, or like bring it back and you lose 2 life, or target creature gets +2/+0 and a similar effect. There's a lot
What
of
are 11 more examples?
Yeah, there's a lot of like 1-mana black combat tricks that do something similar, but this was the one that pioneered it, giving it a keyword. It has steadily crept up from super true bulk to like 40, 50 cents. I generally list these for like 89 cents, and I finally started selling them just because I was like, this is a card that eventually somebody will want because they already have a cart full of cards in my store, and then they'll just like fill it out with this. So I have these listed for 89 cents, which is roughly double market, but I finally started selling them recently.
Yeah, the price on this has been moving up.
Right,
a
you're
little
only
bit.
you're only gonna sell crap like that at that price direct.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it's also been at an upward trend over the past like 2 years from 3 cents to now like 40 or 50 cents. So
yeah, this is actually getting a little bit of play in Modern thanks to the evoke creatures, specifically Grief. It's another 1-mana way to grief-immorate somebody on turn 1.
Cool.
So
yeah, good point.
Yeah, that's what's driving the recent movement here. It's a sweet
Pretty
card.
brutal. Cool. Like Dana, I have a uncommon green enchantment.
From what's that?
Theros Beyond Death.
Hydra's whatever.
Hydra's
No.
Growth.
Nope.
Binding of whatever. Is it the Saga?
No.
It's Omen of whatever.
No,
the Omen's common.
that's common. You guys gonna feel real dumb when I tell you the answer.
All right, hold up. One more time. It's a green creature.
It's a green enchantment.
Enchantment.
It's uncommon.
Destiny Spinner.
Yep, it's Destiny
There you
Spinner.
go.
It's an enchantment. Haha, you idiots.
Okay.
Yeah, got him.
did
Destiny
it.
Spinner's over $1, and it rules because your spells can't be countered. And it's a finisher sometimes if you just like spend 12 mana to just dome him with 320 power lands.
Yeah, Destiny Spinner is in the new Modern Enchantress decks. So it's a pretty nice piece in that deck.
And we just got a new EDH Enchantress commander as well.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. we're so spoiled having like 3 really solid 3-color ones to go down to 2-color, as opposed to just throwing that in the deck as another Enchantress.
Enchantress is just such a circle jerky.
Not really.
It is.
You can steal all their stuff. That's what I like to do. I was like, did you know you can untap 5 lands when you play Treachery? And everyone's like, I will kill you for stealing my commander. It's a good time.
It just tends to be pretty pillow 14, right?
Yeah. Good.
Fine.
And then Corbin's like,
it's also very
merciless
like
eviction.
where like if something
name
wrath, you
creatures.
just like it feels super bad, but like it's like I have a merciless eviction in my deck, and it's like, well, I guess I can't play the game anymore. But if somebody doesn't have a merciless eviction, it just feels very binary.
I literally
agree.
I have every time I lose to merciless eviction, I add another card in the deck to stop merciless eviction. I was like, well, Nevermore and Arcane Denial and Dovin's Veto didn't do it, so I guess I'll add a 4th card. So
yeah, merciless eviction exiling does seem to be
so stupid. That card is so dumb.
It costs 6 mana.
In 2 colors.
Yeah,
it does so little.
So you definitely couldn't have that put stuff in the graveyard because it costs 6
For 1
mana.
more mana, I can cast Emergent Ultimatum and win the game every time. Like, is it really that bad?
Yeah, it is.
No.
Merciless eviction is Jason's Skullstorm. Chalk it up.
It should be banned. I have it in
You're right, DJ.
I'm going to put it in this sleeve. This altar sleeve that people who go to patreon.com/BSB can get. They can get these altar sleeves directly for our patrons. It says this one needs a ban. There's one that says, did you pay the 1? There's one that says, did you pay the 2? There's one that says, reprint this card. You could get all these altar sleeves and put them on your cards and let people know that people who play Merciless Eviction are cowards and people who pay the 1 for Ristic Study are cops. Go to patreon.com/BSB. Give us your money. I have so many of these handsome drinking glasses in my basement. They're literally just in my laundry room, just a pile of boxes. And every time my wife goes in there to do laundry every 6 months, she gets really upset with me that all the boxes are in there. So what you could do to make my marriage a little smoother is go to patreon.com/BSB, go to the $20 level, get some of those glasses, right? You're going to get the glasses, you're going to get the playmat, you're going to get the altar sleeves, you're going to get our undying love and devotion for you as a person.
It's called the Mythic tier. Let's keep using that. Wizards finally canceled all their events that have the word Mythic in it. We can finally reclaim that word.
That's good, yeah. You could be at the Mythic tier, and then we have a tier above Mythic.
Masterpiece
tier, obviously.
Obviously. So if you want to go to the Masterpiece level, you can do it. You will get the glasses. So give us your money. We'll give you the glasses. They won't be in my house anymore. They'll be in your house. And your wife would be like, why do you have so many pint glasses? And you'd be like, I never loved you.
That's what'll happen.
Yep.
That's what'll happen to your marriage if you go to patreon.com/BSB. You heard it here first. Moving right along from that incredible pitch for the Patreon, let's talk about some changes to MTG Stocks. MTG Stocks, of course, is our sponsor. They have the best data when it comes to Magic Finance across the entire internet, and that has taken another step with the listing of sealed product prices, market prices for everything. Every set, we're talking draft booster boxes, set booster boxes, collector boosters.
There's almost too much data. Like, I know some people say you can't have too much data.
I don't think you can have too much data.
But
you can maybe display too much data. You can't have too much data.
If I need to know the price of the price trajectory of the Conflux pre-cons, I know exactly where to go.
Well, actually, that I want to talk about that because I think this is really cool to have an easy to look place because a lot of people don't know, but maybe don't use TCG Player for sealed product. And I would always encourage you to buy local, but TCG Player has sealed product and there are market prices and therefore data to be drawn historically over sealed product, right? And a lot of that stuff can kind of just get lost in the background and not something that anybody really tracks in terms of what's the price of this set done to this set. And now this gives the ability to do that. So I would actually love to see more tracking with it, right? It's the same sort of historical price graph that we get with singles. I would love to see that for, say, booster boxes of Modern Horizons 2, that sort of thing.
a little terrifying to have a visual representation of the number of different products that each set has now.
True. Look at Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
It's like, I want to be a wizard boy. Let's go to the Strixhaven College. What product should I buy to put on my wide-rimmed glasses and my little pointy hat? Should I get the Draft Booster Collector Box case, the Collector Booster Display case, the pre-release pack set of the 5 decks, the Draft Booster Box, the Set Booster Display, Theme Booster Display, the bundle, any of the 5 pre-release packs, any of the Collector Booster packs, any of the Theme Booster packs, any of the regular booster packs?
There are literally 25 different prices. 25 different prices being tracked for sealed product for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
I want to express myself with my direct choice with how I interface with capitalism.
Nerds are the ultimate consumer.
Yeah, because we have money and not dates.
This is none of this is even remotely accurate.
What? Nerds are absolutely the ultimate consumer.
Okay, sure. I guess maybe.
Okay. Second only to maybe like parrots.
Yeah, that's why there's a Friday Night Lights cinematic universe, right? Because we're done catering to jocks. That's the point. There's no Friday Night Lights cinematic universe. Nerds are the ultimate consumer.
Isn't there like an Adam Sandler cinematic universe though?
I mean, there could be. If you,
but it's on Netflix where it can't hurt anybody. They just like confined it to Netflix.
You can't stop me from my headcanon that The Longest Yard and 50 First Dates take place in the exact same universe.
So he plays football, but Drew Barrymore is the one with the concussions? That doesn't make any sense.
Happy Gilmore and The Longest Yard and all of these things. So Adam Sandler, quite the athlete, by the way.
Wasn't Happy Gilmore a movie about a guy who sucks at hockey?
And dominates golf.
But he's bad at fighting Bob Barker, if I remember correctly.
Well, Bob Barker is a badass. Everyone knows that.
That's fair. I'm just amazed Corbin has seen the movie.
Are you kidding me? It's an Adam Sandler movie. It's Happy Gilmore. That's my lifeblood, right? Like the fact that Jason is making fun of it just tells you how into it I would be, right? It's just extremely basic, and I'm here for it. Love me some Happy Gilmore.
The Miller Lite of movies.
Well, now I'll tell you, I watched the U.S. Open over the weekend, and this is something I think that we owe to Happy Gilmore. There's a person now at over, I don't know how many years, but a long ongoing thing. Somebody at every golf tournament, as soon as somebody hits the ball, will scream at the top of their lungs, "Get in the hole!" And I just think I think we owe Happy Gilmore for setting that kind of, just making that possible. That's all.
Only somebody who likes Happy Gilmore as a movie would think that it's funny to yell that every time somebody
takes it's hilarious.
Like it's funny twice.
It's dead quiet. And then if you don't you just got to have the "get in the hole" guy, if it's not there, it's just not the same.
It's the Freebird of the golf world.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could say
it's the shouting parkour at me while I'm doing parkour of the golf world.
People shout parkour at you while you're doing
they quote the Office scene a lot.
But they're people in a parkour gym.
I do outside parkour too.
Why?
Because it's more hardcore.
Kind of where it's designed to be done.
Yeah, in France.
Why France?
Because that's where
they created parkour.
Where it was originally designed by firefighters.
Home. Get in your home, parkour.
I thought that American Ninja Warrior invented it.
No, it was designed by French firefighters to get into burning buildings quickly and effectively.
Oh, that's good to know. If there's ever a fire and I'm near DJ, we're set.
No, he's not going to do anything about the fire. He can just get inside the building. It doesn't help anybody.
Assuming that I can carry you out.
Dude, he's strong, man.
He'll carry you out. Cards first, then come back for Corbin.
Yeah, I mean, I'll save your like valuables or whatever.
Please do. Please do. Help my wife sell them when I die. That's all I ask of you. That's all we got. All right, let's move on. Dana, we brought you on this cast tonight to talk about your experiences selling a lot of your more high-end items over the last couple months. So we want to dig into that a little bit, what that's been like for you, and then talk to, bringing DJ and Jason as they've been on the other side of it recently. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what you're selling and kind of what your goal has been when you're moving this stuff.
So sure. So I came back to Magic in Return to Ravnica block roughly after having not played since, I want to say, Ice Age. And all the cards I had back in the day, I had a roommate that had a nervous breakdown and stole my stuff and pawned it all, including like I had a couple Moxen and I had, original duel, stuff like that. So I just quit the game, got out.
Is that person in jail?
He is not, but he should have been, because I actually got off pretty easy. My other roommate, he took all the junk mail credit card applications that came in and filled them out and
Jeez.
put like 40 grand in credit card debt in his name. And the guy didn't find out until, the credit cards hadn't been paid for like 6 months because the roommate was intercepting the mail coming in with late fees and that kind of thing.
Ooh.
Jesus.
So grand scheme of things, at the time, I got off pretty easy, just losing.
So he didn't go to jail for that either?
He wound up not going to jail because it was his first, time doing something.
His first oopsie doopsie.
Yeah. So I think he had probation, but that was it. He didn't actually do time for it.
He got his little he got his little white guy do 10 crimes that you get in.
Yeah, well, white guy in the Midwest, it's all good. So I quit. When I came back, many years later, I just didn't have any cards but what was out at the time. So I started buying collections mostly on Facebook. So I would join, like, every small town has a stuff for sale in Moose Nuts, Minnesota, yard sale group where you can sell whatever stuff you're selling. I just joined every one of those in every small town within like 100 miles around me. And I would originally just search for Magic collections for sale, but after a while I would just start posting an ad once every 2 or 3 weeks saying, looking to buy Magic cards. And people have to just stumble across that. They're not usually searching for it, but I'd get a hit, once or twice a week. Go meet somebody in a Walmart parking lot, look at what they had, buy their, stuff out of a garbage bag, or go to their apartment and, as they're scratching themselves, waiting for the $50 to go buy meth, I'd look at what they had and buy that. Or I went and bought a collection from a guy in the middle of butchering a deer hanging from a tree in his front yard. I went and bought his collection as he's covered in deer blood. I bought a collection from a guy who was bleeding from a head wound at the time. So I've encountered all the people.
The head wound guy? I have a head wound guy.
Yes. So
everybody has if you buy cards in the Midwest, you got a head wound guy story.
I'm in upstate New York, though. I didn't know head wound guy was like such a franchise.
It's ubiquitous. So
I had shoved condom up his nose through his mouth guy. I've never had that topped.
That's nice. I will have to keep an eye out.
Wait, how he got it into his nostril through his mouth?
No, reverse that. I believe he put it through the nostril and out his mouth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It as much as anything makes sense.
After I asked him specifically, not like they wanted to trade that as part of their performance as someone who could do this in a circus or whatever.
In terms of
they wanted me to pay them. I offered them whatever, and they were like, "Well, how about you give me this, and I'll show you my trick?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "All right, the number's fine, but I'm gonna show you anyways." And then they did.
That's just extra value.
What is something like that worth?
I tell you what it was worth to me.
I would lower the number for emotional trauma.
It was weird. Middle of the LGS. And just all right. So yeah, you got those stories. Everyone's got those stories. It's universal language.
So I would take those collections and I would, just junk out everything that was worth a nickel to Card Kingdom and try to recoup my money and keep what I wanted to keep. And anything that was on the reserve list, for the most part, I would throw into this box right here. So I have an old. It has, I think it's Natural Order on the cover, an old box I got.
That was the.
It's not Natural Order.
That's the international gift box. That had a pack of Visions before Visions came out, and it had like 5 foreign packs. It was like German Renaissance, and yeah, that gift pack is the shit.
So
I've decided to call mine the Moon Box. We were talking about this on the cast last week. I've decided that instead of a Spec Box, I'm renaming mine the Moon Box because one day everything in it's going to the moon.
Yes. Well, so I kept anything on the reserve list, no matter how terrible it was. I'm like, why not? Because I was, for the most part, coming out ahead anyway. I'm not running a store. It wasn't costing me money necessarily to just toss every copy of Abeyance into this box. And then 2020 happened, and every one of those terrible reserve list cards turned into a $30 card, and the ones that weren't terrible turned into, $200 cards in a lot of cases. Simultaneously, I live in a house with a really terrible kitchen. And one problem, me holding on to this box with really expensive cards, is a solution for the other problem, me wanting to renovate my kitchen. And unlike you all, I don't have access to a store necessarily or an experience selling. So I just kind of opened a TCG Player store and listed cards, and with my plan to sell until I could pay for my kitchen.
That's great. I mean, we've talked about it before, that having a clear goal like that makes it all so much better. Sigmund Hausfresser of Quiet Speculation was always talking about his goal and wanting to get his kid a college fund. And he put every dollar profit into that fund. And his kid now has a very well guaranteed college fund. And I did the same thing back in the day. I wrote an article about how I sold cards for a refrigerator. Having a goal, a clear-cut goal, makes the entire process much more meaningful and enjoyable. Was that your experience?
Yeah, definitely. Well, and also it helped that I'm not in a hurry. I'm not going to get this done probably until next winter at least. So I was able to do things like take a bunch of these cards and look and say, okay, I mentioned Abeyance before because it's alphabetically at the beginning of my list here. When Abeyance was selling for like 19 or 20, I just listed my 8 copies for $30. Because I'm like, there's not much in between. And I'm like, somebody's going to try to do a buyout and they'll just buy my $30 copies. And if they don't, in a month and a half, I'll just lower them to the normal price. Because it's not overhead for me. I didn't really invest anything into these cards. I already got my money back. So I could just list a bunch of these things and let them sit for a month and see if someone tries a buyout. And basically all spring long that happened. I sold my 8 copies of Abeyance for $30, and it's back down to like, 20, 25 or something now, but like Lake of the Dead. And I sold a bunch of Lake of the Deads at, I think, almost 300 a piece. That's now retraced, but I can afford, I'm in a position I could just list them for 30% more than what the minimum is and wait and see what happens.
Do a lot with reserve list stuff.
Yeah. The one thing I would say that I learned, because I've done this mostly on TCG Player for the most part, TCG is quite easy to use even if you're somebody who doesn't have any experience,
yes.
Except for the levels, seller levels you have, because you're restricted on what you can sell price-wise or what you can list price-wise based on what your seller level is. So like initially I'm like, I'm just going to list a bunch of cards, and I couldn't because I think it's $1,000 cap when you're level 1.
Yeah.
So
they've laxed those restrictions a lot.
Okay.
Over the past decade.
So
when I started, it was
stringent.
like you could list a maximum of 2 items, and then you'd sell 10 items, and you get to level 2, and then by the time you got to level 4, you could finally list your Jund deck. But they changed the restrictions at some point over the past few years, where their goal, sort of their like ideal system, was like, we want an intro seller to be able to come in and like sell their modern deck or whatever. That was their like they're like, we want somebody to be able to come in and sell a deck at an entry level.
Well, what I wound up doing after realizing that limitation was I just took a bunch of stuff I had that was like a $5 card that, I'm not going to need 4 copies of Prime Speaker Zagana that I had picked up somehow over the years and hadn't gotten rid of. So I'll just list those for, 20 cents less than the minimum or something to make sure they sell, get those 4 sold and get them out, and get my level up to 2 and 3 relatively quickly. Yeah. Not losing money necessarily, but like not caring. Like, okay, if I break even on this, I don't care at all. I'm just going to sell the cards to get my level to the point where I can list all of my stuff and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, and I mean, this is sort of the idea, and this is, I think, a lot of people listening want to, kind of, it's hard to see if you're just the average Magic player is listening to this podcast for the first or second time, to see yourself getting to, DJ's point where you just have tens of thousands of cards in inventory that you're running this giant store, right? So it's hard to see, how to get from there to the other side, which is why I love having you on here to talk about this, because these are, the steps that anyone's going to have to go through if you want to get started buying and reselling. And that's a lot.
Oh yeah. That origin, like joining every cesspool on Facebook and just like plugging your nose and hiding every other, like, because when you join those groups, you get all the posts from them. So it's just unfollow. Like that was my entire college career, was just joining all those Facebook groups, all the Craigslist trolling, all the 2-hour drives to middle of nowhere, Canton, New York, to buy cards from somebody who's underneath their car when I arrive, and we perform the entire transaction while he's beneath the car because he doesn't want to get out from beneath the rolly thing. It's like, yeah, all of that was my origin story too. Exactly. Basically. I just
I wound up
decided to drop out of school and print it full time.
I after joining the first couple and seeing that, I just stopped and created a fake Facebook profile for like a fake person and just joined under all of those, so I don't have to deal with that crap. I just switch over to that profile when I post and do everything through there.
That's funny. Dangerous, but funny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Then I don't have to have some rando person knowing my name either that I'm meeting on Walmart.
It doesn't work for like the actual Magic groups though, because those ones generally require you to like have an actual physical like pictures of yourself and prove that you are not just like.
But if you're trolling around on Facebook Marketplace, it'll work though.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, so what? I guess, have you learned, what do you sort of know or wish you knew now that you're a couple months into this, when you had, first took the leap and I'm opening a TCG player account and I'm selling cards?
Things like the fact that you can just print out PayPal labels from like shipping labels from PayPal instead of going to the post office.
PayPal.com/ship now.
Yeah. and if you're selling like 1 or 2 or 5 cards, the weight is always the same too. You don't need to worry about the weight. It's always going to be, 3 ounces or less, which is the same price for 1 ounce. So you can
go up to 4.
Yeah. You don't have to think about it really. It's unless you're selling something significant, the weight's easy. So once I figured that out, that made life a lot simpler too. I can just get up in the morning. Oh, I sold 2 things last night. Throw them in a top loader, grab the envelope, print out the 2 labels, tape them on. I take a bike ride pretty much every morning past a P.O. box. I just drop them off in that P.O. box. It's for the amount of cards I sell, which is half a dozen a week, it's not very time consuming at all.
Also, concerning the weight thing on PayPal, allegedly, you can just always put the weight at 4 ounces. And then if it turns out to be higher than that and they actually want to charge you for it, they will still deliver it and then just like hold your account until you just click a button that says pay difference.
Oh, nice.
So you really? Sometimes it's 5 or 6 ounces and they're just like, whatever. But like if it's 8 or 9, you can still just list 4 ounce. Allegedly. Somebody told me. Heard from a friend.
What they won't do is they won't deliver it and say the person they deliver it to has to pay the money.
Correct. Yeah, it'll just get charged to your own PayPal, and then you can't continue to print more shipping labels until you just click a button that pays the difference of what you likely would have had to pay anyway, but not necessarily exactly. So now, you can save a few dollars a year on that.
The one real nightmare thing I had happen was I had taken a bunch of the expensive cards out that I was taking pictures of. So like my Guy's Cradles, my Bazaar Baghdad, that I wanted to get a front and back photo of all of these. And I had them in a fire safe. The really expensive things I was storing in a fire safe. So I had taken them all to take pictures, and they were all in one of these little plastic boxes just for the photo version. And I had it sitting on my desk, and I just hadn't put it back in the fire safe yet. Simultaneously, I had found a bunch of random foreign black border cards that I'm like, I might as well dump these too, because what do I need this random, Italian Legends card and this random Korean printing of something from Visions or whatever. Sold them to somebody just for the lot for like $30. Coincidentally enough, one of the top cards in my reserve list thing that I had taken pictures of was a Solkanar the Swamp King. And one of the foreign black border cards was a Solkanar the Swamp King. And I put the plastic box with all my reserve list stuff in an envelope with a $1 stamp on it or whatever it wound up being. and just tossed it in the PO box to send to the guy that paid me the $30 for the bunch of 4 and black border cards, and didn't notice for like 3 days that the one still sitting on my desk was not my box of Reserve List cards. It was in fact the $30 worth of 4 and black border things. Fortunately, that happened over Memorial Day weekend, and I was able to, on a Tuesday morning, drive to the PO box and just camp out till the mail truck came and convinced them to give me the envelope back out of the blue box. And I cut it open. Like, I had my ID. I'm like, here's my name. That's going to be the return address on this thing. And was able to get it back and open it up and pull out my box with 2 guys' cradles and a Mox Diamond and a Bazaar of Baghdad and
What time in the morning did that take place? This is like a 4:30 a.m. kind of call.
So I realized what happened about 9 a.m. and ran to the PO box and pulled the lid down. Lucky. It has the collection time and it said 2 p.m. So I just waited. So I wound up waiting there like 4 hours just to make sure I was there. And of course, the truck came almost exactly at 2:00 when it was supposed to be there. The post office was on time.
Good old reliable post office.
What did you do for 5 hours?
It wasn't. I played with my phone. I had my phone there. I was able to actually remote into work and actually fix a couple of things at work. So no one even noticed I wasn't at my desk. I was on campus too. It was a PO box near my college campus. So there was a bunch of tours coming through, and I'm like trying to act like I'm not just a creepy guy looking at college girls. And I was somewhat successful, I think, in that as well.
That's good. Good to hear.
Not entirely, but somewhat.
Yeah, well, you've had the full range of experiences then, safe to say.
It's been an adventure, for sure.
But that's great. Yeah. So, I mean, the question at the end of the day is, would you consider everything you've just described worth it as opposed to just sending a list to someone like DJ and getting cash back?
DJ, are you sniffing magic cards?
I'm shuffling magic cards so that I don't play with my dice because they make a clicking noise near the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah, but I'd hate for that to be a distraction.
The time investment has been minimal enough that yes, it's been worth it for me to do it this way. If it was a larger collection or the cards were worth less and it required a lot more monkeying around, it probably wouldn't be. But when most of the things I send out are going for like $50 or $100 a pop, things of that nature, it's pretty easy to do it myself and not have it suck up too much of my day. If it was a different kind of collection, I would probably recommend just taking it to somebody, and because time's money. And I mean, that's a cliche, but like it's true. And if you're selling things that are nickel and dime, unless it's your job, it's just going to suck up so much of your life that I think it will be difficult to recoup how much you invest in that whole activity.
All right. Well, there's another aspect of this we want to touch on that DJ I know wanted to ask Dana about. So why don't you go ahead and take that?
Sure. So, I mean, obviously I buy and sell cars, I buy and sell high-end stuff. And one of the reasons that people do choose to come to somebody like me or somebody like Jason or just like a store is they have a very big and understandable fear of like counterfeiting. There is a common scam where you're like, I'm going to sell this Sarah Sanctum on TCG Player, and then you ship, or eBay or whatever, you ship it out, and then the buyer says, I got a fake. And then you're like, I know I didn't get a fake. And they're like, well, I got a fake. And then they send you back a fake.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem. So what has been your experience, Dana, in that? Because I mean, I can only speak from the side of like people choose to sell to me because like they are afraid of that experience happening.
So I have not had that happen to me yet. One of the things I do is particularly, if it's a $30 card, I haven't worried about it too much. The couple of expensive things I've sold, including Sanctums, I've checked to see who the buyer is and see what their history is, because you can do that on TCG Player. You can look and see how many purchases that person has, what their history is. And so far, I haven't ran into someone who's like, hey, this is a brand new account. This is their first purchase. I don't know what I would do if I encounter that. I would probably try to cancel the sale. But I've always checked that on big cards to see if it's somebody who has made a bunch of purchases already and therefore, in theory, probably has a reputation and is a little more trustworthy than somebody who is making their first purchase. So that's all I've really done so far to kind of protect myself. I've taken pictures of my really expensive cards too, but I don't know what good that's going to do because I don't know how I would prove I put that in the envelope. So do you have any advice for that?
There are some people, I am friends with some vendors on Facebook, and I just have coworkers and associates and whatever. They do, it's like they have a threshold where if it's over $500, I am taking a video of me sealing the card, putting it in the envelope, and putting it in the mailbox. And like you can just calculate yourself like the risk to insurance sort of ratio on that of like, I'm spending 30 seconds doing this. And if the error rate is 1%, then like if somebody makes a claim on $1,000 card, theoretically this is worth it. So you can absolutely do that. That's not like an unrealistic, crazy thing to do. If you're considering selling high-end cards on third-party marketplace platforms, you can do that. You can absolutely just take a video of yourself putting it in the mail. eBay is generally much more buyer friendly when it comes to counterfeits. So eBay has sort of a higher risk involved, and it's also just going to be like the more predominantly used site in terms of like scumbags and bad actors just looking to like make a quick buck because they know that eBay has that sort of track record. One thing that TCG Player does, I've been accused of selling fakes before. I sold a Japanese doubling season, and Japanese cards, number one, have a more glossy feel, and number two, like nobody's ever counterfeited a Japanese doubling season in their lives. So somebody accused me of selling a fake, and they were very, very adamant about it. And what TCG Player has is they will ask the buyer to send it to them, and they'll send it to their headquarters. They will verify it, and they have a lot more data on the buyer. They have a lot more information and sort of like ability to track what that buyer's behavior is, how many refunds they've asked for, any sort of communication that buyer has had with other sellers, so they can see if they're taking sort of a scattershot approach in terms of just trying to fish for refunds. And I mean, lo and behold, the card turned out to be real, and I got paid for it. The buyer, I don't believe they might have refunded him. I assume they refunded him. But my card got sold and I got paid for it, and that was a happily ever after situation for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's great in the case that's the conflict resolution process working as it should. I imagine if someone's trying to scam, they'll just send the fake card into TCG.
Right. But like that's where like TCG players looking at other buyers and sellers comes in, because if you're a first time seller and you're opening a store and you're selling cards and somebody pulls that scam on you, and you are a seller with a relatively low, not low reputation, but like a new reputation. I do assume that TCG will sort of give both parties the benefit of the doubt, and then just have that as a little warning mark of like, okay, the seller sold something that somebody claims is a fake, and then if there's a repeating pattern on either buyer or seller's behavior, then that becomes more of an issue.
Yeah, I think TCG Player has actually proven to be pretty decent at keeping buyers and sellers as happy as possible. Not to absolve them of any poor decisions, but I think in general, the conflict resolution process is pretty decent on the site. So I think that should make you feel comfortable if you're someone in Dana's position looking to, make that jump. It's a very low percentage chance of getting completely screwed.
One thing kind of tangential to this too, I will briefly mention, because we all joked about head wound guy or going to buy meth guy. But like, you probably should take steps to kind of protect yourself when you're going to meet those people too. I'm 6'3", closing in on 300 pounds. Like, I probably worry less than the average person that I'm going to get jumped somewhere. But I still, like, when I pulled up into that guy's house, I was meeting him at his house that was butchering the deer in his front yard. I called a friend of mine, my potential co-host Max. I'm like, Max, here's where I'm at. Here's the GPS coordinates. I'm going to call you back in 15 minutes. And if I don't, you should let somebody know. And I usually do that if I'm not meeting somebody in a well-lit Walmart parking lot. If I'm going to someone's apartment or house, I let somebody know, and I'm a pretty big guy. If I wasn't me, I would be even more cautious.
I love how you called 5'3" Max as your backup.
Well, he could call the police, I would imagine, successfully. That doesn't require you to be that brawny, I don't think. I am 5'7", and I have never called for that. I have brought people with me to collections, people who have adamantly requested that I refer to them as my hired muscle. They're like, I've got friends who are like, hey, can I come along to this collection buy? I want to be hired muscle. That's just been like a dream of mine. I'm like, I'm not paying you. And they're like that, but it's like a fantasy, right? They're just like, I just want to be a bouncer. I just want to walk up on and just do this transaction.
No one's going to mess with you if you have a movie blade replica katana on your back. Like everyone's like, this transaction will go smoothly because I don't.
Like that's
So
This is
will
how
this
long he's
blade
been
through your
studying the
neck?
blade.
that's a
Yeah.
serious person who doesn't date. I am not messing with them.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a great answer. It's good to hear. So there you go, everybody. If you're interested in seeing what it might be like to take a plunge, I think that it's harder. It's hard to get a better example than this.
And it's also, I'll note this, at some point it becomes difficult to rationalize holding on to these cards. I've even pulled a few things from decks. I've got a commander deck, one deck in particular that had a foil Yavimaya Hollow and a foil Yawgmoth's Will in it. And not even that powerful of a deck, but at some point I'm like, I can't justify having these cards in a goofy commander deck when they're worth that. When this one card could be the countertops in my kitchen, and this one card is going to cover the subway tile. Like I just can't. I couldn't. And then it's scary too. Like I sometimes bike to my LGS. I don't want $5,000 in a backpack on my bicycle going to my LGS to play cards, or going to an event when events reopen. So it's not even necessarily about just paying for my kitchen or having a goal. I just don't want to have this stuff in my house sometimes too.
I think that's one of the most awkward realities, and it's a first world problem, all of that.
Absolutely.
It's one of the most awkward problems of 2021 that I don't want to play with my Magic cards.
Your money?
Well, but the thing is, what if you don't, what if you just want to play the cards? Right? Like, what if I just want to put dual lands in my commander decks so that I don't have to pay 2 life? And you have to make these considerations. I mean, yeah, you can proxy stuff, sure, but like, if you don't want to do that, if you want to play the Magic cards, then it's a choice you have to make. And I feel guilty about the amount of money that's parked in Magic cards at my house.
I don't.
I know. And well, you're churning through them sort of in a way that I'm not. Like I actually don't feel so bad about like the business side of stuff that I run out of my office here. But like in my house where I keep my high-end binder of expensive stuff and all my duels and all that, it feels a little guilty, like just having it, You
feel guilty for having like video game systems and like other.
It's just a different scale, man. Like video game systems are a couple $100s, not like tens of thousands of dollars,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's all just money. I don't know. It's all just money.
Well, it doesn't feel like a flex on somebody if you have a nice video game system. But like if I go to an LGS and I'm playing I have decks that are super, super casual because I happen to have a Bayou. I put the Bayou in the deck. Like, why not? I have a Bayou that I got in a collection for cheap. I might as well use it. When it was a, $75 card, I didn't feel like a dick dropping that on the table. When it's a $400 card and I'm playing against a new player, I genuinely feel bad playing that in the deck, even if it isn't that powerful. It makes me feel like a jerk dropping cards that are that expensive.
Yeah. It's just kind of not what a lot of, I don't know. It's at some level, it is what we signed up for. But on another level, it's just kind of like not what we signed up for when you decide to play Magic, right? It's just, I'd say awkward is the right word for me because like I can rationalize it. But at some point I just look at everything going up and am I being crazy to think that the prices aren't going to crash, right? And how far can this bubble run or whatever, right?
And
like,
is it worth the risk?
Yeah, those are just the questions that become difficult. And like maybe I want to go play in a legacy tournament one day. You have to consider that. It's all just a weird problem to have. But
I mean, I have a hard time I have a hard time understanding how somebody considers something a tough decision when it's like, do I want $10,000 now or am I going to play in a tournament someday? Like it's like, I don't know. These are equivalent. Woo! Like
some people are motivated by different things. That's what it comes down to. But yeah, I'll tell you what I am always motivated about. It's the favorite part of the podcast for a lot of people. It's time for Pick of the Week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
And I have a great pick of the week this week, I think. It's a card that's been reprinted actually a lot. Since it was originally in Apocalypse, it's been in a lot of different versions. A lot of them are promos. But Vindicate now in Modern Horizons 2 is all of $2. It was last printed at Masters 25 or Eternal Masters, whichever one of those came first. And those copies are all 10 plus. So if you ask me, Vindicate at $2, given that it's legal and modern and showing up as a 4 of in decks, is way too low. And looks like it's probably going to bottom out here in the next week or two. And I think I want in at that point on Vindicates.
Yeah. I got a card that I don't understand why it's so cheap. This got a mystery booster / the list foil printing, but all the printings of this card are under $10. Even the mystery booster foil. That card is Intruder Alarm, and it's cheating. Intruder Alarm is a unfair cheating magic card that allows you to break the rules of the game and makes most of your good turns turn into turns where you just win on the spot. Intruder Alarm should not be as cheap as it is, and I really don't think that under $10 for the Stronghold version is correct, and I do not think under $8 for the Mystery Booster foil is correct. So I like any and all Intruder Alarms at their current price. It's going to go back up for sure. It just takes one card that goes infinite with it, which is pretty easy. You know, anything that taps to put a token into play or something like that. You know?
Yeah, I've certainly comboed off with Intruder Alarm before. It's pretty fun.
It's also one of those cards where it has a very specific purpose in that deck. It's not the kind of card where you say, well, I can just run something else. When you're running it in your deck, you want that card and nothing else does what it does. So you buy it then. You don't, there's no second substitution. You can scale down and buy the cheaper version of. You just bite the bullet and buy it.
Yeah. All right,
card
DJ?
that made me a lot of money once upon a time, and it's not the card Once Upon a Time. But it used to be a True Bulk rare. It had a big ol' spikety spike, and then it went and did nothing for a while. And it is the kind of card that if the correct card gets printed, I believe we call these suspicious cards, then it will spike again because it still only has one printing somehow. And there is a set coming out that relates to Innistrad, and this card is from the original Innistrad. It is Heartless Summoning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Heartless Summoning is a 1 and a black enchantment. Creature spells you cast cost 2 generic mana less, which is a very powerful word. It's a powerful sentence, I suppose. Creatures you control get -1/-1. Skull Clamp has shown that is not necessarily a downside. And it was bulk. It spiked real hard after Battle for Zendikar came out because people tried it as like the Eldrazi show with Eye of Ugin and Wasteland Strangler kind of. That card wasn't out yet, but they tried it with Eye of Ugin and just making Eldrazi's cost less. You can play your 4 mana Void Winnower or whatever, your 4 mana of Oblivion Sower. And Heartless Summoning has been $2 for the past 3 to 4 years or so. And I still have some, and I will buy more. Every time they come through a collection, I'll just pay 50 cents or so, just throw them in a box. And someday they will print some big old colorless artifact thing or a small colorless artifact thing with a crazy death trigger. And you will be able to go infinite with this. And it has one printing from the original Innistrad.
Yeah. I've made a lot of money off of this card multiple times. It seems like it's due for another ridiculous situation.
Well, I have a really cheap one here from the most recent Zendikar set, Valakut Exploration. It's the red enchantment cool card. That whenever a land ETBs, you basically get one of those impulse draw effects, except for if you don't use that card at the end of turn, it goes into your graveyard and you deal damage based on the amount of cards you've done this with. I think this kind of got lost in the cycle of getting a set every 3 or 4 weeks, and the hype overran it, and it just has kind of gotten forgotten about. It's sitting at 20 cents, I think, for the regular version. The showcase version is not much more. It's a really good card in even just a mono red or a Boros deck. It's a really nice draw engine. If you're playing a landfall deck, I have never seen it hit the field and not just break the game wide open. Landfall is a popular mechanic. It's a mechanic that's going to come back again. We will get a 5-color Omnath. We will get a 6-color Omnath with purple mana at some point. And you're going to look at Exploration and be like, when did this turn into a $5 card? But it's going to eventually happen because it's so powerful in that kind of deck.
It's the same rarity as Valakut Awakening, which I think was obvious to people. Valakut Awakening is in like 50% more decks than Valakut Exploration, which is the difference between 50 cents and $5, I guess. Not being a DFC, I guess, doesn't help Valakut Exploration a ton. I think the fact that there are so many different versions of it, you know, you have the promo pack, the promotional pre-release foil, the variants showcase, the regular Zendikar Rising version. Like, the base version is 50 cents, but I kind of like the showcase version with the different art, which is still under $1, a little bit more.
It's bulk as well. I like it too.
Yeah,
but I like that card in general, right? That card is actually getting played in Legacy lands. Valakut Exploration is pretty powerful.
Lands is a deck that has always just been able to be like, let's add this one weird card from new set, and then now I have 18 different ways to win the game.
Yeah. It's that's exactly right.
I've been in a graveyard deck before where the person is, basically using it for land drops and anything else they want the creature to go in their yard at the end of turn.
Valakut Exploration provided us the best moment we will ever have on stream when we were streaming with Jorbs and did Tabletop Simulator Commander, and Valakut Exploration led to a very unexpected crazy win on the last turn of the game. Unfortunately, that match has been lost
Corbin,
to time.
you win on the last turn of the game because when you win, you don't play anymore. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Like, of course, it was the last turn of the game. The game was over after that.
The thing you look for is always in the last place you look.
What are you talking about?
Good point. We did it.
We'll agree to disagree on that. Anyways, Dana, thank you so much for coming on. Remind people where they can find you and your content across the internet.
Thanks for having me on, first of all. And I always thank Jason when I go on other shows for being one of the first people to give me a chance to make content, despite being a cranky jacket sometimes. Jason's a good dude, and he gets a chance early on, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to thank him here.
I see you're working on that unapproachable vibe, buddy.
Right? Yeah. He's
I got invited on 5 shows because I got drunk last night and said, "Why am I not playing EDH?" And I got invited on stuff.
I like that tweet. Good work, Jason.
I did it.
So you can find me writing for EDH Rec and on the EDH Rec cast, both of which are in part due to Jason. I'm on a show called Commander Central, and I'm writing for Commander's Herald, also in part due to Jason and Corbin. So you can find me at all those places, and on Twitter at Dana Roach.
Great. Well, yeah, everybody make sure to go out all of those things. Dana, thank you again for coming on. Everybody at home, thank you for listening. Hopefully, if you have any questions brought up as a result of what we've talked about tonight with Dana's experiences, feel free to shoot them in, and we'll tackle them in the next week or two. This is Brainstorm Brewery. Everybody, thanks again for listening. We'll see you next week.
Hope you didn't write an email because we didn't read it.